Hi, this is Casey from Casey Grandpa Tech, where we talk about tech and fun stuff and much, much more. I want to talk to you about Away. It's a movie on Netflix that talks about the story of astronauts traveling to Mars for a 7-month trip to the Red Planet, 2-month trip on the planet, and 7-month to going back. It's a trip that's never been done before, and the chances of failure and the astronauts losing their lives is quite high. So let's get into that. So let me introduce you to the crew of this wonderful voyage that's going to be the first people to step on Mars and set up the first colony on Mars. And it's an international effort. You have a person from China, Russia, India, Uganda, and of course the United States. And each one brings with them their individual specialties, their individual skills, to be able to be the first people on Mars to live there for 2 years and then return home safely. So let's get first into the captain. First thing we have is Hilary Swank. You may recognize her on programs like $1 Million Baby, P.S. I Love You, and Boys Don't Cry. But she is the commander of the mission. And of course she has like most of the people on this ship, have a family. And early on, they have multiple problems on the ship. And on top of that, her husband has a stroke. At the same time, she has a teenage daughter. So she has all the worries of, is her husband all right? Will he survive? And how is her teenage daughter going to manage all these problems? So let's get into that right now. So one of the problems, of course, as we said, Matt Green is the chief engineer on the project. The one they go to when there's a problem. He ends up having a stroke, leaving them without a chief engineer. And the one that's taken over the program does not have the full knowledge of everything they need. And of course, the situation becomes more and more interesting as the relationship between his daughter and her problems. Her mother's away. She's dealing with taking care of her father, who comes home being paralyzed. And if I didn't say so already, I'm sorry. I forgot to say there's going to be spoilers. So that brings us to our next crew member. Now, the person sitting to the left, of course, is the second in command on the spacecraft. He's also their doctor and surgeon. So when someone gets sick on the spacecraft, he's the go-to person. And as I said with spoilers, he becomes sick, and so they have to care for him. And he's the doctor. So that in itself becomes a major situation. So like I said, all throughout this series, and I'm watching it, I couldn't put it down. Because if it wasn't one problem that occurred, it was another problem. So let me bring out to you the next character. Now this is Dr. Wu Wang. And she plays the chemist on the spacecraft. And you may recognize her. She's Vivian Wu. And she's been on Teenage Ninja Turtles and other The Last Emperor. And she also, like everyone else on the spacecraft, has personal issues. She is in a marriage that was prearranged. So there's no love in the marriage. At the same time, she has a son which she adores. And she's going to be months and months away from him. And at the same time, during her training, she fell in love with another woman who taught her English. And now, of course, she's away from both persons, and her heart, of course, is the loneliness and all the problems that occur from being away from your loved ones and your family members. And as they travel further and further away from the Earth, video chatting no longer is possible. And all you can do is text the person. So that leads us to our next crew member. This is our chief engineer, Misha Pavlov, also played by Mark Vanier. And you've seen him in many, many movies, like Spielberg films and Terminal and Clinton. But he is their go-to. When something goes wrong in the ship, they need him. Now, I didn't know that such a thing existed, but astronauts have been experiencing this on the International Space Station, and it's called space blindness. Because your fluids in your eyes are not moving around properly, you gradually can go blind. And he begins to lose his sight and eventually cannot see which leads them to some critical situations, which I won't get into. But when you're watching it, you'll understand if you're the person who fixes everything is not working and is broken himself because he can't see it, it becomes a dangerous flight. One of the biggest problems, of course, is that the further and further away they get from Earth, the further and further longer it takes for communications to go back to Earth. So when something goes wrong, if they want to go back to NASA and say, hey, what should we do? It could take 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour before the communication comes back with the information of what they got to do. And then they have to communicate back. And so it is a major undertaking to go to Mars. But that's not really what this is all about. So that's my thoughts on this movie review. And again, before we finish up, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It takes a lot of work putting these together, and let me tell you, I appreciate it when you subscribe and you put a like. And if you have any comments about things that could be done better, or more things, how excited you are about Season 2 coming, put it in the comments. But let's just finish up. What we can see and what we can learn from all of this is that it is a great series. I couldn't stop watching it. I had to force myself to stop at 4 episodes at a time. Otherwise, I would have binge watched it all night long. The growth of the characters is incredible as you learn about each one of them, about their families, their situations, how they deal with problems, the things that make this series excellent. And I have to say, it is excellent. It's one of those series that you can watch the first time, go back, watch the second time, go back and watch the third time. It's that good. And I'm looking for the Season 2 and hopefully a Season 3. So until next time, this is Casey from Casey Grandpa Tech out, and we'll see you again.